that everything's fine? So this talk is about getting access to the internet exchanges, the core, the heart, the most important part connecting networks in every country essentially. So to start, like a brief question, which of your networks considered getting access to the internet exchange or getting access to public IP addresses? So that's Linux, that's Ljubljana, that's in Belgium, right? You're from Belgium, right, Peter?
Huh?
No? Okay.
Yeah.
He's from Ljubljana.
Ljubljana, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, mixed you up. Sorry. Okay. So at least like two other networks. I think I want to motivate you, and as I did, I hope motivate Ramon to really, try it, because after all, how did the internet develop? Right? It developed because autonomous systems, autonomous networks, decided to join, public IP space and public global routing, and that's actually the way we communicate. And in a sense, we're just communicating again with another distance vector protocol, PGP, right? So this is actually the official way to go, and I think there's no way that our community networks should just step behind and say we're behind private IP space, where it's just sort of a small network, blah blah blah. I think you should be there. You're a big, important edge network, very innovative, and you should really be part of the global internet and be respected as such. That's very important. So let me tell you a little bit about how Funkfeuer got by chance and by luck and by grabbing the chances and by using every opportunity that we got, how we got access to the internet exchange and what actually really happened there. And I will also tell you a little bit of a story how it happened. It was not so clear at every moment that we would be there. It was always sort of a distant goal for us, and we sort of managed. We didn't manage 100% yet actually how it should be. Connected to the big switch there. We're not. We're connected to a side switch, than ISP. But let me tell you then about all the details during this presentation. And you will go ahead. But you talk about it.
Well, by having this introduction by Aaron, it helps. It really introduces very much what happened to us. We were starting from a point when we were using a private space, addresses. So in fact, we were building a network, a part of the internet. So at a given point of time, we were thinking in, oh, let's keep it growing, let's make thing more global, let's join more users. And if you go to the users and explain them that we are building something, a part of the internet, they are not even able to understand what we were doing. So at a given point of time, we have to take a decision on that. And by having a talk with Aaron and some others, we switched it drastically in terms of strategy of what we were doing. Let's go for having this thing happen that in Austria I already had. The only problem is that it was not as easy as Aaron told me that it was, because of
said it was easy, yeah.
there is lots of things which has to be taken into account. You were very much already involved in the interchange, cooperating with some ISPs. Was not our case. I think our case was even the worst case, one of the worst cases. We were in a place like that we are right now. So I mean, hundreds of kilometers away, physically where the interchange is. We were not even had before some kind of personality to join, get the public addresses from the IP and follow up. There is lots of things that needs to happen, and then reach, of course, connection to ISP. It took years for us to make it happen, and years, resources, and lots of things. But yeah, I mean, again, and well, maybe just to show you a diagram of what we did. Oh, sorry.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Just explain a bit the thing. We, in the beginning, we were, running our clouds in terms of mesh cloud, or we sell it Nuvo in Catalan, which means cloud regarding protocol, whatever, or doing much more statical through BGP or OSPF protocols, connecting supernodes through VGP layer over on top of this, and then getting connected to gateways of the internet, but using DSLs. So at a given point of time, we were having hundreds, thousands of users, but just as a private network, and then the real bottleneck was this thing. And building something which was a part, so people were forced of sharing internet addresses. I think also the people is not happy to share their internet access as sometimes people that think they do. I mean, once they pay for something, they are not that happy to share resources with others. So, okay, we need to, instead of building a network, a part of the internet, make this happen. Right? So we are switching now from here to here. It took, I mean, instead of going through those gateways, build real gateways. And also there is another decision which came into our case, which is which kind of strategy do you want to do? We are away from the internet exchange physically. So the national regulatory agencies and already existing ISPs were doing in a specific way, which was really reusing the infrastructure from the incumbent, Telefonica, which means Cooper lines, and all of this stuff. Yeah. This thing has been already, so people were saying, making that way to get connected there. And so we were even more radical. We say, no, we don't want to use the last center. We want to set up new optical rings that were not even regulated yet in Spain. But on the other hand, it was complicated because we were not following, let's say, the official roadmap for doing it that way. But the good thing is that since nobody did that before, we were able to at least to bring on the field some of the rules and say, okay, if it's not, nobody thought how to, let's say, for instance, lie aerial cable through rural areas, we will tell you a suggestion of how to do that. We set it up to the regulator, and we did. And finally, we reached it here. But look, we reached it here just a few months ago. And it took, first getting part of the repeat, it was 2 years ago. Then create all the resources that we had to gain the position. It costs money also. And on the other hand, what I will say is, we created resources of that. So if somehow also we are able, once we have an AS number, we have now an AS number, but sometimes these kind of resources, it can be even shared for us to make a more easy way to speed up this process if some of you are interested. So it's a good things to happen.
I saw you like when I was connected back there in the hackerspace. I was connecting SSH back to my box, and I was like, oh, I'm connected over IPv6. Great, cool. And I'm like, who is the network? Yeah, that's it. So let me maybe I was thinking a little bit before what components are needed for that. Maybe I can show it a few. Let's do this here again. Some needed components. Well, we're in Europe, so our natural contact is RIPE. So for getting public IP addresses, you will go to RIPE. RIPE essentially hands out two types of IP addresses. It's like PI space, provider independent space, and PA space, provider aggregated space. And essentially you can be, or you can be a customer, right, of an ISP. So that's how you get IP addresses, right? So we started with Funkfeuer, we started with PI space. Back then, the friendly ISP helped us. We had it, in a sense, much easier than you. They helped us, and they just gave us this /24, I think it was in the beginning, PI space. And the PI space has the advantage that you can take it with you. It's assigned to your organization. You can take it with you to a different ISP in case you want to. PA space is tied to the ISP, right? That's the difference. Later, we decided, our network was growing. We needed more. We needed more control, and we wanted to also have IPv6, etc., etc. And especially, one person from Funkfeuer got a job at RIPE. And he was getting into all the, how this all works. And actually, it's a very interesting side story. How did he end up working at RIPE? Because we were running a so-called Orson server in our network, in our cellar. I was showing you in the last presentation, in our co-location server center. So the Orson server is a alternative root server network. So it's like the dot in the domain name system. And the idea of the Orson network would be, in case something really bad happens, let's say politically bad happens with the actual root servers, there would be a backup controlled by independent people. So theoretically, the top-level domain people, could switch theoretically to a different root server network, like the dot. Anyway. So this guy, Wolfgang, got lots of experience with running a root server, DNS root server. At some point in RIPE there was a post offered, like, we were searching for people running root servers, the K-root. So he got the job offer, and he was doing that at Funkfeuer before, just for fun. And then he was working at RIPE. So at RIPE he helped us, to follow all the procedures, and I think, in case any of your networks wants to, become RIPE member and so on, I will just refer you to Wolfgang, because he can really help you with all the, the forms and the procedures and advise you a bit. Yeah? So we got LIR membership. That was the next step. That's sort of the status when you can demand from RIPE your own IP address ranges. You can say, now I need more IP addresses. I need IPv6 addresses, etc., etc., and you can actually hand out PI space to other organizations. Okay, this, however, costs. So it costs us for Funkfeuer at the moment roughly 2,000 euros per year. I think 2,500 even. That's not nothing. That needs to come from somewhere. And luckily, we have the server housing, which also covers these costs. It's part of running a server in the server housing is to pay also for bandwidth. Mostly electricity, bandwidth, and a little bit for the IP addresses. So that's our AS number. As we saw from your great BGP talk, each autonomous system has an AS number. And now there is a new regulation with RIPE for IPv6 addresses. In ARIN, in the United States and Canada, you can get IPv6 addresses for free if you're a community wireless network.
Yeah, there's certain rules for that, but effectively, if you're
right. So in Europe, this doesn't apply, unfortunately. We tried also. Wolfgang's, and me, we were talking with the people at RIPE, but it's a very voting-oriented organization. So you would have to convince the whole RIPE group. By essentially voting for something like that. So this didn't happen. But there is another possibility that you get PI space, IPv6 PI space through a sponsoring LIR. Yes.
And also IPv4, no?
Pardon?
And also IPv4.
And also IPv4. And it should cost, I think, roughly 50 euros.
Yeah, per year.
Per year.
Per year for one object. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can also get an AS number in this way.
Yeah.
Yep. You get AS number, you get IP space and IPv6 space each for 50 euros.
Yeah, 50 euros one time only, or 50 euros
per year. Per year.
Per year. Yeah.
So it's 150 euros for SI, IPv4 and IPv6.
Now, please note that the calculations for RIPE changes from year to year. Like every year they have new proposals, and then the whole the RIPE meeting they vote for it. And that would be a nice trick actually, that many small ISPs are actually not present and do not vote at the RIPE meetings, even though they could vote remotely, as far as I know, or at least they could, be present via live stream, IRC, etc. at the RIPE meetings. Anyway, there would be a possibility to get delegate votes and actually change the pricing scheme if you're interested in that.
Okay, but for this year it's still the same.
For this year it's the same, and I expect it to stay the same also the next few years.
50 euros for
yeah, that's I think really affordable. So this is an affordable way to get public IP space, and we just need to find sponsoring LRRs.
Which is you or...
for example, yeah.
I heard it was 1,000 for the provider independent space.
No.
This is for sponsoring, if you are sponsoring. So you have to ask Aaron for as an existing LR if they would sponsor you. Then they have to have all this bureaucracy and so on. But you, and because of this, maybe you will have to pay him for all this sponsorship and so on.
Shit, you gave me No. But it's so he takes over all the administration and so on. It's. I think the only thing we have to take a look again, maybe at the exact procedures, is what happens. Let's say, for example, when you can't pay anymore. We have to think about something like that, or look at how it's handled according to the right procedures. But I think this is a minor detail. So
as far as I know,
and it is left to the us to decide. So if you would if you would be sponsoring LR, then we should declare.
Okay.
As far as I know, and I also want to raise a question at the same time. To become member of the BRITNet, there was one fee for getting in.
Yeah.
And I think, as far as I know, it's about 3,000 euros or something like that, at least 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if it changed.
But that's for LRR, right?
For being LIR.
Yeah.
And then there is a yearly fee, which is very much the 1,000 thing, but that's for being a LIR. And not for the others. Another question, then the first thing that you get, and it's automatically, you get an extra small for IPv4 and a /64, if I'm not wrong.
No,
32 IPv6, which means tons of IPv6, but not very much IPv4. And to get another one, if you want, I think that you need to prove that you are already using the existing one. That's going to be the problem.
For autonomous system numbers, it's the same mechanism, or it's completely different. You have sponsoring for AES number.
And you get an AES number, of course. I don't know if you can ask for more AES numbers.
I think, the way it works usually with RIPE is like you give them a network plan. That's the bureaucracy you talked about before. You give them a network plan and how you think your network, how many IP addresses you need right now, and what you think how it will grow over time. And you need to document that and keep RIPE updated about that. And you need to have updated contacts. You need to have the billing address needs to be correct and so on. Lots of small things, but it's really not so much. It's okay. So again, Wolfgang, I didn't ask him now, but I think he will help community wireless networks to go through that process. In case there are any questions, if you ask him friendly, I think this should be doable for us.
We've already been in contact last year because
good.
And he was, I think, replied that he would try to help me.
Sure. So now the point that I want to make is this is not the only thing needed to get global connectivity. It's okay, now you have maybe you paid, you get your IP addresses, but you still need a BGP peering with somebody, right? Now, there are a couple of ways for that. It's the best way that I would suggest is get a friendly ISP that you're on good terms with, and do a peering. That means you bring a 6-pack, say, hey, I want to peer with you, and that's how the peerings used to work, at least. Anyway, it's a peering agreement is usually quite easy to achieve when you're on good terms with ISPs. Then you need a place. Yes?
But as far as we know, the peering can be only it is enough already if it is only peering without transit. It doesn't have to be transit.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you. Like peering, essentially, like is just the process of saying, like my network is allowed to reach your network, right, and vice versa. But it doesn't necessarily say I can reach the internet over your network. So you still probably have to, negotiate transit traffic, right?
Yeah, because this is the real cost at the end. Yeah. Because for peering, the ISP says, okay, no problem, if you will not make something ugly in our network.
Yeah.
But for the traffic, the transit, this is then the cost.
Yeah.
And
there are many cheap options for that.
I know, but I'm saying that because you have to have two peerings, one can be a real internet access and the other can be just peering with somebody who's...
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So I'll briefly talk how we did it at the Vienna Internet Exchange, the VIX. There are actually two Vienna Internet Exchanges, one in the center of Vienna, which is at the University of Vienna, that's where the internet started in Austria, and one is to the north of the city, where all the big carriers are coming to a big industrial style building, and lots of stuff is there, lots of generators for emergency cases. It's really highly over-engineered and very, very cool. Anyway, we are now at the Vienna Internet Exchange #1 at the university, and it's like that. Here's the building of the Vienna Internet Exchange, the university building. Slightly off, there used to be our old server housing and a fiber cable to that building. That was already built by the ISP who helped us in the beginning. From here till the other cellar, we had a cable to the next block of houses, where we have our cellar right now. We have a cable, fiber cable that we put below the street, where the cellars of the two buildings meet below the street. So you take a big drill and go, and then you go put in the fiber, right? So you go do it cellar to cellar. What? That fast?
Lucky bastards.
Yeah, lucky bastards, right. Yeah, so it's really location, absolutely true. Yeah, you need to, that's the chance that we had, and we grabbed the chance like, a dog and a bone and run away with it. Yeah? So, okay, so we have this fiber line now, okay? And that's connected to the cellar. We have the connection to the Vienna Internet Exchange, like this path. That's all great until the ISP that helped us in the beginning essentially gets sold. Okay, so the ISP gets sold. Our main antenna mast on the roof there is suddenly maybe not available anymore in the future, and we have to really quickly think about an alternative path. So it actually, fortunately, took some years until the selling process and all the dissolving of that room, of that cellar, and that fiber path is happening. Turns out another ISP buys the ISP who was sold, another ISP buys that ISP, and at the end of the day, it's all Telekom Austria. Anyway, like ISP buying big fish, bigger fish buys big fish. Typical telco story. Okay. So over the course of like 2 years now, we don't know exactly how our main and only internet uplink at that time will actually, be in the future. So we're really, nervous actually. Okay, so we built a cellar with all the server housing there. In the meantime, we have some obligations to the network, to the free net, and some obligations to the people with the servers in there. So we need to find an alternative route, alternative path. So what we did essentially is like, we got a few offers, and essentially we really invested some money into digging this way, just circumventing this block which was now sold, and going the street this way to the Vienna Internet Exchange. That's now our own fiber, and it was expensive. We commissioned that out, and people did that, and it's ours now. Yeah.
And how expensive?
Roughly 20,000. So this sucks. But we were lucky that we had like we didn't have to pay some electricity bills.
I think you're lucky also because you can dig on the streets. You can do that in Rome.
Yeah, it's public property.
Yeah,
so
but under Rome there are plenty of stuff, so you can...
Yeah, maybe archaeological stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe you can do wireless in the cellars of the Roman cellars?
Well, but when we visit this, when we talk, if you go even too big, there is, an old part of the town. So we had discussions with the authorities how to manage that. Since at the very end, although there's kind of historical things that you cannot dig in certain places, or you cannot even open the streets and so on. Municipalities at the end they have to bring a solution because connectivity should be everywhere. And very often the cables go through in some walls or even the roofs. So very likely you have to talk with them because they need to find a solution anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the problem is that if they are cooperative enough to talk openly with you about that, I mean that's another story. But in the case of Vic, they started to be. If we go to Barcelona, we will see what happens. But
there's another possibility. It's really grabbing a chance and running away with it. So, for example, there's another possibility. There is a company in Vienna doing that, and I'm sure this also exists in other cities. Like you use the canalization, and there's a robot going through the canalization and actually laying out the fiber there and plastering it at the same time on the back, and then it would be completely sealed. Huh? So this technology exists.
The company's name is
Cable runner. Yeah. And so there are many ways, and you do it on the electricity poles. So there are many ways. It's just.
Yeah, but in Ghana, remember they rent these, so the municipality rent the canalization for this. For this.
Yeah. And it's.
And of course, there is always wireless. So if you cannot go to the internet exchange, why not use wireless?
Yes, actually, we did at some point during this uncertain phase. What happened with our uplink? We had from the second building block with our survey housing. We went wirelessly to the Vienna University building, and again they were very helpful. So talk to your local university because they actually might support.
This is how we will probably do it because our local internet exchange is in not in the building but yes, and we have agreed with them that we have a node on the roof. Yeah. We just have to make a cable down to the.
Yeah. So for them there was this antenna pole where they have the GPS antenna for the time server, and they said, well, as long as you don't disturb the GPS signal, use it. Again, very lucky, but grab every chance that you get. And it won't be enough to have one chance because you need to be redundant. So you need a couple of connections. Okay, so to finish this quickly, once you get the access to the IX, that's great. But you still need to be, you still need to do something inside of the IX. So usually there's a big switch port there, and each connection at the switch port costs usually a lot. And again, the people were very helpful, but they couldn't jump across their own rules. So they couldn't give us a switch port for free when all the other ISPs pay a lot for that. They would complain, right? So what we did is, so we at one ISP we made a deal that we pay them a regular, I think 300 or 500. I'm not sure now. 300 or 500 euros per month. We get a few switch ports in their rack. Okay, that's not the main switch of the IX. So we're not officially completely at the IX at their switch port, but we just have a few switch ports of at the switch of this ISP, and he will allow us to connect to other ISPs also. So we have the possibility now to buy bandwidth in bulk from Colt or any other cheap provider. There are many, as you said, there are many very cheap offers there once you're in the IX building. Like I don't know, 30 euros or something for, or 10 euros per Mbit or something like that.
That's expensive.
Yeah, that's expensive, even cheaper.
$1 per megabit.
Yeah.
Maybe not here.
No, the deal that we did was with Cogent for starting with transit, and it's 1 megabit euro. 1,000 euros, they give us a gigabit.
Yeah.
A full gigabyte, guaranteed, complete. You know. Yeah, it can be, depends on the quantity, and they do deals. They offer of the month. If you contract us, this
Hurricane Electric is another good one as well.
Pardon?
Hurricane Electric.
Yeah.
They're really community oriented and would be quite happy. They're even giving away IPv6 transit right now.
Yeah.
So as to try to build.
Yeah. Here's right. That's a good point. Here's another offer of this ISP at the moment. The ISP got funded or got some grant for deploying IPv6. So one of their offers is to give you free IPv6 transit. And there might be another ISP in your area who actually got the same kind of, I don't know, EU funding or whatever it was, to actually do that. So it might be another chance, you know.
What do you mean with the last sentence?
The inside of the IX, especially in Vienna, the VIX number 2, if you have a patch and a patch somewhere else, to be able to connect to from your rack or whatever to the other ISP's rack, the Vienna Internet Exchange 2, these patches cost a lot, and now they changed the rules to even charge monthly for that.
For the cables.
Just for the LAN cable, the
privilege of passing light.
So
we're buying about 60 euros a month. 60.
I don't know it by heart for Vienna Internet Exchange 2, but it's like, I don't know, 100 to 200 euros or something like that, in that range, I think. But I would have to look it up, okay? Anyway, what people are doing then instead, commercial ISPs are doing that instead. They have their rack. They try to see if they're close to the other guys, and they get a woo, yeah, directly from rack to rack, yeah. Yeah. Okay, here are some.
Would be one less.
So here are some prices from the Vienna Internet Exchange. So the setup will be 1,000 euros. The switch port that we don't have, because we use the switch port of the ISP, is 200 euros per month for 100 Mbit. For a gigabit, it's 600 euros per month. You can see it's still quite expensive. So I don't, for a community wireless network, I don't necessarily recommend to have really the switch port, because it gives you, well, it gives you the peering possibilities with any other ISP directly. Okay, but as long as you're on friendly terms with other small ISPs or so, you can lay the extra cable usually inside there. At least that's how we do it. Huh? Another trick that might work for you is we got this recommendation by the NREN, the National Research Network. That's in Austria, that's the ACONET. We got an idea from them. We didn't do it yet, but it might work for your network, is to help them to connect student homes. Usually that's a task that they don't really like. Okay? Yeah, good.
They are doing that.
So that's usually a task that they don't really like, and especially maintaining that, it kind of sucks. Always problems with BitTorrent, whatever. Anyway, so if you do that, maybe it's possible to become part of the NREN, of the academic network, and as part of the academic network, you usually get very good possibilities, and they have very good networks.
But that means that you become really part of the NRN. There is no more peering and no more stuff like that.
No. You do your peering, whatever, but just part of the overall NRN.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. So yeah. So I was talking about this fiber path now before, and now the independent fiber path that we were digging. Okay. So to complete the story, the funny thing is, like, this building was rented now by another ISP. And this ISP was actually, forcing us from the antenna up there. Our main uplink was gone. We had to decommission it. It really sucked. Yeah? And we couldn't. We still use that fiber path, but it's sort of a little bit of clandestine. And by now he knows about it. Anyway, and he was like, thinking this was our only uplink to the internet. So what you do when you have another company organization and you think they can pay, you go like, yeah, that's your only path, right? Until it really hurts. He didn't know that we already had the second path. Now the funny situation is like he found out later that the last 30 meters to the IX, the fiber cable actually didn't belong to him. That was still from the other ISP. And now the other ISP is playing the same game with him. So at some point, he came to us and said, wait, I heard through rumors that you have an independent path. Can I go through your way? Yes.
So he is paying you for the cable, he forced you to the layer on.
Yes, exactly. So
competition is wonderful.
So now what I mailed to him like recently is like, okay, maybe you have an independent uplink for us somewhere else, right? And maybe we can do a B2B peering and so on. So it's like grabbing every single opportunity that you have to get connected to the official internet. And the more you have, the more redundant you are, the less anybody else can, pull this screw on your thumb. Okay, that's it from my side at least. Some pictures. Sorry. That's Wolfgang, the guy who works at Right now. He was climbing into a really small space to put the fiber in there. That's from the digging process. They have this big roll, and they put it into the ground.
That's the center, right?
That's the center of Vienna.
Yeah. You couldn't do that.
Yeah. At night.
You're thinking in Rome.
Yeah, in Italy it's completely...
Yeah. But maybe there are already some pipes down there, and someone gives you a chance to put your fiber into their pipe because they don't need it. So maybe they pay, maybe a company is just laying their own cable, and you say, hey, we know you pay a lot of it, we might pay a little bit of it too, we would just lay one fiber cable, it's not that large.
Yeah, Dimitri.
I want to ask about, okay, you make infrastructure, but who owns this infrastructure?
For this, there is the term, and usually telcos do it like that, it's called IRU, Indisputable Rights of Use. So essentially what you buy is actually not really the cable. What you buy is the right to use it, like forever or for a certain number of years. Yeah?
I mean, what's the person that owns your infrastructure, then you make it?
The owner of this?
Yeah, you?
Yes, we have the contract with the company who was digging that, so that we have the right for that.
So you have founded some legal entity that can do this?
The association has
it. Second question, what's the difference between you and commercial service provider?
Well, the difference is mostly in philosophy, right? And that we are not profit-oriented. We are not profit-oriented.
Okay, we have the same story with in our camp, but if you have a legal position, you must have agreements with authority. It means if some person comes to you, you will exactly show everything.
No, that's in Austria. That's different. We have from the routing side, we're like an ISP. We're the same. We have an AS, etc., etc. From the legal side, we are not an ISP because we're not registered with a regulator. If we are registered with a regulator, we have to by 2011. It will be actually decided, I think, in May or June, something like that. We will have to do the data retention laws. We have to follow the data retention laws. But we're not registered with the regulator, and you have to register with the regulator once you come above, I think, 300,000, something like that. Yeah, 315,000 euros. Yeah, yeah. So we're way below that, and we're not commercial, and we're sort of a closed user group in this. Anyway.
Which data you have to retain?
In Austria, we would have to keep the SMTP from to connection,
servers,
and a few other things like who was subscribed to that DSL line at that moment. We don't have DSL, but anyway. But like the association IP address user, essentially.
But, sorry, but when you're reading your law, we assess it differently. That you should be registered, but if you have less than 350,000 euros, you don't have to pay any money to them yearly, and you don't have to retain data.
No, you don't have to register with a regulator. At least that's the advice I got from the IXP association, from their lawyers. So I think I'm pretty sure about that.
Can you get me this in paper?
Paper or advice from the lawyer?
So somewhere where it is officially written.
Okay, I'll try to get that. Yeah. Okay.
Because we are currently lobbying in our in Slovenia to copy your law on this.
Okay.
Papers from lawyers are always expensive.
So
from law, from the
two more pictures from our own fiber path. Is like this is a so-called splice box. Here you can see the yellow are the single mode fibers. They essentially break out to connectors, and you have this loop here so that you always have an extra space in case you need to splice again. Here that's a fiber splicing machine. What's happening inside is there are two small fibers, and there's an electric arch, and the machine aligns the two really small micrometer thin fibers, and it aligns it perfectly. And then there's an electric arch, and it welds it together. And then there's some tests if the connection is good, and that's it. And it's done pretty automatically. So, yeah, my pictures.
I'm sorry about not having pictures, but just reminding, we had to the differences in terms of the idea is the same. We were trying to follow same things. We had some draws. For instance, we didn't have that ISP friendly thing, and also we were willing to use public domains in order to lay out the cable and so on. So we had to follow the rules. So we had to become registered and NRA, and but this has in Spain didn't cost anything. It's just a matter of writing some papers and saying I'm going to run a public network. So then I should be granted for use the public domains as any other operator. The problem on that is that raises a fight. I mean, we were very very difficult relationships with the other operators, even for getting into getting the membership for the interchange. The prices of the interchanges are a bit cheaper. It's about I think 300 euros per month for one port straight to the interchange, and 100 more for the gigabyte port. One was fast Ethernet and the other. So prices are good because of the government, but relationships with them were very difficult. That's why it's take a long of time. Interchange, in fact, is an association also, and they are voting, they are ruling out the rules, and we were not very well welcomed there. With the other, but they still have rules. So as long as we were following the rules, somehow they were forced to accept us.
Is that because Telefonica and so on are in the members there, or how does it work?
The fight with Telefonica was because of deploying fiber through public domains. Yeah. They threatened us. They tried to stop us, and they were saying the posts are mine. So we had to say they threatened us in terms of we will have to go to court to use as much as power they were able in this hands. But the good things is that at the end, the laws are not written by Telefonica at the end. They tend to be neutral. So once you become a member, officially in terms a local internet register from the internet side. When we are following the rules that are part of the how the works interchange, and you get registered at the NRA, at the National Regulator Authority, you are granted to same rights as any other operator. Also, we are a community or bottom up or however you want to call it. I mean, in fact, and it is happening. I'm saying that all the time. It could be different somehow laws from country to country, but they still have to follow the the telecom package that now has been changed. And in some rules, it's very clear the telecom package and have to be everywhere the same. So telecoms has been liberalized. So no longer officially, at least. There is a lot of tricks that could happen, like things that are sometimes hidden or whatever. But any operator should have the same rights as any other. So could not be one which is has more rights in terms of laying cable through the streets. I mean, if somebody in Rome is providing cable, even DSL, you should be able to do the same. So you just have to look how they are doing. So sometimes the trick thing is that you go to the municipality, how Telefonica is laying the cables, and then you will find very surprising responses. For instance, they tell you in some cases, oh, my difficulty is to know actually when they did, because they don't ask for permission, they just do. And I have to go behind them. That's just one of the responses that I got from a given municipality. If I'm not on time, they will lay the cable everywhere, and then I'm going to be in trouble or die in a place that they can't, for instance.
Do you have a database of where each cable is laid?
No.
Yeah.
That's reminding me of an interesting thing that I heard in Brussels 2 weeks ago when we had the workshop on the bottom-up initiative and so on. They were, and actually that was being presented by the NRA of Germany. Because that open data thing and so on, it seems that the European Commission is asking to the NRAs to publish all the information that they have about infrastructure. Not only, and the discussion was because some of those information the telcos are trying to keep them confidential. And the discussion was, okay, but we are forced to publish that information, so maybe we are not going to say if it's from Deutsche Telekom, from Telefonica, whatever, still needs to be published. And they are building application right now on that, and they were also showing us the application that is already available from the United States. So you go through a map in the States, and this is already available. So you're saying it goes geocoding. You're saying I'm in San Francisco in that street. Which kind of services I can choose from here? And they say you have cable, you have fiber, or you have 3G or nothing, or whatever. And it's so hopefully if they follow those kind of rules, many information will become available. Right now it's actually secret. Not only the telcos in Spain, also the public. We have, but they have those maps, and it should be available. Hopefully sometime on that.
So it's very good to be legal, fully legal, and you.
Yeah, the bad thing on top of this is that you have to. One of the problems we talk very much in Rome. Very often they say you are illegal, or at least with an A before, illegal, or something which was not expected to be when the law has written.
They're completely unexpected.
So we have to completely deny this argument. At a given point of time, for good or bad, the decision was taken and was to liberalize the telecommunications. So liberalize means that everybody can do whatever they want. So we do. In these terms, and that that happened because of that telecom package. It has, I tell you, also some other bad things, but that's a good thing. I mean, we are free for do whatever we want in terms of telecommunication, as long as we are following software, which is the notification. So we try to do it that way. So at the very end, and that's the sad part of the story, we had to start this year doing suites and going to court. But look, at the very beginning, everybody was telling me, because you know, Telefonica, the incumbents, they have lots of lawyers who are very are very happy to sue whatever is moving just for having fun or for disturbing or whatever. But they never, although they threatened us for doing so, they never did. You know, because of what? Because we were absolutely legal. And if it goes to court, maybe they were very much in risk that the court doesn't accept the claim at all, whatever they were claiming. And it means within 50 days, and in case, I mean, because it denies there is no case, they cannot go again for the same case. So never happened that Telefonica suited us. But what happened is that from us to exercise the rights that we were granted, because we are a legal operator in some form, authorities do whatever things to bring, let's say, for instance, more facilities to others than us. So because of discrimination or whatever. So we started the switch, and we will see what happens against the. And look, one funny thing is that NRA, what did happen? They were saying you are the only telco that are not bringing life. It's part of the business as usual.
It's a what?
To make lawsuits and go to court.
Yeah.
All the telcos do that systematically for everything.
Wow.
And we were the only guys who were not doing that. So they were saying, and we were doing the lawsuit against them actually, right? So we say, yeah, don't worry. I mean, this is part of the
game.
It's part of the game.
Wow.
And now we are in court with them, and we will see what happens. But that means that we need also within the community lawyers helping us in all of that stuff.
Well, I can subscribe to that. I mean, all that we did with Funk4 also was like totally straight. Yeah? It's like no tricks, but do it smartly. Yeah.
Okay.
But of course, you're always on the much safer side when there are no illegal cables or something. I wouldn't recommend that, but there are always smart ways anyway to do that. Yeah? You know what I mean? Like for example, we got the right for the cable between the first building and the second building, and the drill. We got the right for that. It's okay. Yeah? We have by now. Actually, it's a good point. By now, we own that the path, and I taught you about this ISP who wants to connect back through us to the IX. Now, since we own that path, we're in a much better legal situation, right? So it's fine. Yeah?
I have two questions. First legal and second technical. If I understand correctly, you have to retain data about who is using which IP at the moment in Spain.
Us?
No.
In Spain?
Yeah. So what do you write down now for us who are using it here? what do you write down now for these IPs we are using it here? What if there will be a request?
Yeah. We read the log.
We write meter.
No, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna explain you because I think there is so many paranoia about that. Because I mean, same happens when you go to a hotel or you are using a cafe, and in fact we have not. We are first thing that we always say, we are not the police, and we are not. We don't like to be police, and we are not being paid for that. So it's a matter of.
But my question is very simple. If now will come paper, who was using this IP 1 hour ago? This I'm not using. What will you respond?
Yeah, what we do need to. If it's an info, first I'm not respond anything if somebody. I mean, to be asking. I'm not going to provide or reveal any information just because whatever. We already publish many information because we publish the network topology, much more information. But legally, what we have to do, we don't have. We are not running other services like a voice over IP because then you have to track even more things, right? So, but just in terms of IP communication, we got those IP addresses from the RIPN, right? So and actually in our case we don't even want to sell IPs and control those IPs from the users. So what we do, actually, is the way that we are doing right now, is we provide those IPs to the professionals who are building the networks and connecting. So this building was connected by some guy called Gaufix, right? That's the Polish his name. That's the name of the professional who did the link between where the fiber is up to this building. And so from he is who has to retain the information of that IP to who was provided. Me as a foundation, we are a foundation. We are non-profit. Some other is doing the work and is getting paid from that work and has to know where that IP is being used. And it's used in the telecenter of San Bartolomeu. This is a public building and there is lots of people here like today. But the law is not asking for any more than this. To know which IPs are being used where, not by whom, if it's your sons or whatever. So don't.
Interesting. That's different because in Slovenia we have law. It says you have to say name, surname, registration number. And
no, it's not that. Okay. It's not that. In fact, it's good to know if, well, for instance, a regular ISP they have even more information. They have your account number, whatever, because they don't provide anything you unless they have your account banned, right? So in some cases we don't have these kind of things, but we have a registry of where those IPs has been used, or in the case that you run DHCP, you have to track to which MAC address. So because the purpose of that law, and we sit down with sometimes with some security department from the government, whatever. The real purpose of that law is that in case something goes wrong, and by following also some, because they cannot ask freely for information like that because it's protected. If with an authorization of the court or whatever, they can go to you and you have to facilitate, in that case, their job. We are not the police, so they want to track. And then it's going to be their work to find out who was at that building at that moment, in particular. But they cannot charge, for instance, a murderer or a terrorist attack to whoever didn't commit it, just because they own it at the given point. It made me very afraid. I don't know how it finished. That case that happened in Germany, that somebody had a Wi-Fi open access, and it seems that by the German law, were able to punish the person not, and somebody was downloading whatever that was not, and they fined it, not the guy who was downloading the stuff. They also put in trouble the one who was setting up that. I mean that makes me very. This is not happening in that way in Spain. I don't know how that finished in Germany.
Just a comment about this. They didn't fine him because he had not data retention, because data retention makes absolutely no sense for someone running a net router, because you only have one IP and you use it your own, and even if you record the IPs of the other side of the net, it wouldn't help you if you don't retain the net table, which you would not be allowed by German law. I think they somehow said he was partly responsible for giving other people the option. Some really strange, but this was not because of data retention. Because data retention is not done by private people.
So the point, as I understood it, was that they couldn't find a person doing the criminal act or whatever it was. So they just invented an interpretation of existing laws. Actually, the court who decided this is very famous for doing very strange decisions.
Hamburg?
Yes. Okay. They're like, everybody is going facepalm if something is going to that court. It's like, oh no. And basically, what they said is this person enabled someone to do a criminal act. So they made a kind of an interpretation of the law out of it. So now, as a president's
yeah, but
case,
I think it's going up to the next court.
It's going up, and it's
and
there are counterpart decisions as well. So as there are no definite definitions written in law yet, so all the opinions are just.
That's one funny thing
in
about.
In the meantime, to become a safe harbor, let's say, or something, what we're saying is within our peer-to-peer agreement, the commons, what we say, I mean, because everybody is systematically doing peering with others, so you are. It could happen that somebody else is using your network. This is part of the story, so we deny completely to be a problem that, and we specifically are saying in that peer-to-peer that nobody is responsible for whatever someone else is doing. We have this in a written form. We inform that thing to the national regulatory authorities. So if it has something to say, just tell us. But I tell you, actually, the same happens to the regular operators. So the user, formally, in our network, becomes an operator. So, and since he becomes an operator, it makes sense to keep the network open, to facilitate other joining, whatever. It's part of our, let's say, business model. So
we were once joking, that was before actually the data retention really came to Austria. We were thinking like, what happens if the data retention comes and we have to follow it? Well, we have the Pico peering agreement. Each user is his own ISP. Okay, go and do your own data retention about yourself.
Somehow, I mean, it's very... And they don't have a response, and on the other hand, they are forced to accept any form of building networks. So they cannot force you in doing whatever data retention that is not, reasonable or not able to be done, or you are even revealing secrets, because there is also a conflict with the data retention of the data protection.
In general, I think last word for data retention, I think we shouldn't be afraid of it, right? It's like, of course, the media is like doing a lot about it, but it's a process, right? It's a and it's going to go back to the EU level now. We're going to be